Are you ready to start living a more confident, successful, and safe life, regardless of what's going on in the world or what has happened in your past? Then you're at the right place at the right time. The FemVincible Podcast, where we bring you content and guests to help you focus on moving forward as the powerful you that you were truly meant to be. So welcome to FemVincible. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the FemVincible Podcast on this fine Saturday morning when, well, some of the snow has already melted here in Utah. I didn't send out a note earlier this week because I had a last moment idea for an episode today, and I just thought of it last night or this morning. And my incredible guest, who you've seen before if you've watched us, agreed to do it, just off the cuff, on the spot, and she was willing to do it. So today we're going to be talking to the incredible Penny Blackmon. And yes, she does have the same last name as me because it is my wife. It is, she is. I didn't mean to call you it. So anyway, and through a little bit of video magic, I'm going to bring her in to the video now. So hocus pocus.
Wow, you really are magic.
David Copperfield, eat your heart out. Okay. So anyway, I guess I could have TikTok that, like when they go womp, 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 and then we're back, but I didn't do that. And I didn't even make the womp, womp, womp sound. So here we are. Penny, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks. What a surprise.
Okay. And you guys will be happy to know that she chose not to wear the strange Christmas hat that she was threatening to wear.
Are they really happy, though? I don't know if they're really happy about that.
Everyone is happy about that. I think. No, the people that they won't be happy. But I'm happy because I would be so distracted and I would be staring the whole time like this. And we don't want me doing that, right? Because
it's just too exciting and we can't have that here.
And the professionalism and all. Okay. So anyway, yeah, thanks for being here, Penny. And Penny has started a program. When did you start that?
Oh, it was right before Thanksgiving. So it's been 6 weeks now, I suppose.
Okay. And that's the one that you're doing on your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because she has another program that she's doing with an incredible guy that we know. I should have him on here one day.
He would love that. He's amazing. Incredible.
So anyway, lost my train of thought there. Imagine that happening on the podcast. This program that she's created, and it's a free program. So I'm going to tell you how to get to it later. All right. And it's just really neat. I'm not going to try to explain it too much. Penny, what is that program called?
It's called Soul Conversations. And
is it soul like SOLE, like only one person having a conversation?
No.
Or SOUL, like a
your heart.
deep.
Yeah,
okay.
SOUL,
Got
Conversations. And I do it every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and it's really free. But really, this was born right after I got back from Egypt. I had such an opening with myself. And one of the things I recognize is that deep conversations are such an impactful way for people to move forward and maybe get their thoughts out there and have other people have conversations about it so that they can maybe bring those lessons they're learning deeper in or have another way to go through it. So I created a thing for people to come do that.
Isn't that kind of uncomfortable for people to dig into deep stuff like that?
It's interesting. I think what I've noticed, the first time people show up to these, there's that discomfort, especially if they don't really know people deeply within the group. But it's such an easy way. And, we have a lot of laughter, and very quickly people get brought into that deep place. But what I find is that even though there's that initial discomfort, them just showing up is like the hardest part of the thing, because once we're there and we're having conversations and people are being open and honest and vulnerable, it invites people to go to that deeper level of exploration of who they are and what they're about.
Gotcha. So you mean just the courage it takes for them to show up on the Zoom link, because you do it through a Zoom on, right? It's not an in-person. So if they have the courage to even show up, then they've already kind of beat the biggest hurdle. And that's when talking to you, you kind of move them into a space of deeper connection, even though a lot of times it's people you've never spoken to before, right?
Yeah. And that's actually been super fun, is people come in that I haven't seen before, that have heard of me through other friends and stuff. And to recognize the discomfort that is for everybody, and to walk in. So it's a really open place for people. And isn't that the way life is, though? The initial movement is usually the scariest part of everything we do.
Yeah. And that's in everything. Just in my morning reading today, there was a part where it was saying that, the uncertainty is the thing that keeps us from moving. And we have to step into that uncertainty. And interestingly enough, and this kind of surprised me when I read it, but it really clicked for me. When you're trying to follow your path, your purpose, whether you feel it's divinely inspired or, regardless of you believing in the divine or whatever, anyway, when you step into that greater purpose, you're actually going to end up inviting even more uncertainty into your life. And one of the things that you learn to do as you're following your purpose is to live and prosper within that uncertainty. And I can see very much how that would happen with what you're doing, Penny, where as people get past their fear of showing up, they show up, click the link, pop in, and they've already beat one bump to get over. And then you're going to talk to them and they get to hear the deep topics that you talk about. And then they're invited to speak deeply and openly, which may create more uncertainty, but is also a place of personal power and mastery of the self when they do that, right?
Right. I've actually had a couple of times, it's a new program. So I've had 4 or 5 people there in the conversation with me. I've had just one person in there before, and
That's
so
got to be tough for them showing up, especially if they don't know you.
Exactly. So
it's just me. What are we doing?
And they're like, oh my gosh, now I really have to talk, so and it was fun to just be in that place and just to sit with them in that discomfort, and I think that is as we move forward in life and go towards our purpose and choose to grow in whatever it is, that place of stepping in discomfort never gets oh my gosh, I'm gonna be stepping into discomfort, this is gonna be awesome. I don't think I ever have.
I know, I do that all the time.
But if you do it enough, even the discomfort you have of moving into something new or something different or changing a pattern, if you do it often enough, there is a little bit of place of going, yeah, this part is uncomfortable, but what on the other end is like so valuable, whether it bombs or not. So yeah. It's like just that stepping in tells me in my being, I can do this. And when I show up in all of who I am, in the vulnerability and authenticity that I am, it invites other people to show up that way. And so the few times that has happened, I just turned myself up. It was just you know what, we're going to be fully present here together, and I'm going to invite that space. And kudos to the people that have stepped into that and going, no, I don't know what they are, and then they get me turned up. So they're brave. I appreciate them.
Yeah, if you're one of the people that have popped into her event and you were the only one there, nice job staying there, not going, oh my gosh, where's the off button so I can get out of this Zoom. Yeah. So I was thinking about this, and our friend, well, you haven't met my friend Tim yet.
Mhm.
I should have
I
him
know
on too.
Tim.
He's recently, he's huge into networking. He's part of the Davis Chamber of Commerce and believes so much in businesses supporting businesses. But he is now leaning into a place of, instead of just networking, he wants there to be true connection between the people that are showing up at the chamber events, um, or referring each other's businesses out, so that you're really referring someone that's your friend that you believe in, not somebody you just met. So you're talking about these soul conversations, and you might think, initially, I just want to do this with my really close friends, but there's reason to do it in other places too. And just like what Tim's doing, I see what you're doing as being applicable in business or in school. I mean, I hate to catch you with a surprise question here, but I don't really. What benefits do you see? I mean, you're a business owner, just like I'm a business owner, and a lot of our friends are. What benefits do you see for a business owner to engage in this program with you of soul conversations, to use those deeper conversations with coworkers, clients, potential clients, and so on?
Well, first, initially, just putting yourself out there to show up to something like this. I mean, you get the description of the event is, hey, we're going to talk about deep stuff. And so for even just stepping into that and saying, hey, I'm going to practice being authentic. I'm going to practice being vulnerable. I'm going to just show up and see what happens, to be able to do that and just step into that time after time allows you to find that there's actually safety in vulnerability, because I think that, as we go through as kids, things happen in our life and we're like, vulnerable is not a safe space to play. And we just push our walls up. And
sometimes that's even more so when you're dealing with a man.
Yeah.
Because we hear vulnerability and we think this is where we're defeated or where we are beaten and we can't be the victor. But that's not that's not the kind of vulnerability we're talking about.
Yeah.
The vulnerability that you get with did I say vulnerability? Yeah, I'm from the South. Okay. The vulnerability that I think you're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, is about the willingness to be seen for who you really are, not just as your business persona, as the owner of FemVincible or the owner of whatever other business there is. It's being seen for who you are. And why do you suppose that's uncomfortable for people? I mean, we know that greater connection helps them with clients, helps them with prospects. Why do you think it's still so scary to be open like that?
Well, I think especially for entrepreneurs, we have this belief that we have to show up as we've got it all together, or nobody will do business with us. Nobody will do business with us if we don't have it all together. If we're not super successful, that we have a large following, that we have all of this business. We never have any money worries. We never have any growth worries. We never have any worry. And so when we present ourselves as an entrepreneur, as our business, especially when it's a passion that we have that we're doing, we tend to show up with the facade that we think that they want to see. And when that happens, and I'm looking at you for the first time in your business, I can feel that. We can feel deep connection. We can feel authenticity. Even if we're not like ultra sensitive or empathic, there is something that's not quite off. And so we have in our head that vulnerability is going to cause our destruction of our business, when it's actually the opposite. I think that's what I see with people that meet you in your business all the time, that, you're reaching out to people that have never met you, that have never seen you. And you just like, hey, let's have a Zoom conversation and get to know each other. And they show up in this place of, all right, what's the pitch? What's he trying to sell me? But they still show up. And all of a sudden you're there just having a conversation, and you're being goofy and, in your most professional way, and all of a sudden you're just a real person. And at the end of every one of those meetings, they're like, I really like who you are. And then all of a sudden they're reaching out to you for, hey, you should meet this person, or I really like this. And it's because of the authenticity that you showed up with that they now want to have a further relationship with you. Where if you had showed up with, this is FemVincible and this is what we do, and and all of the copy work we put in our marketing, then it would just be, okay, so what's my next appointment? So I think that vulnerability is just built into us, that it's bad when it's actually the things that change the world. I mean, I'm going to go like big and broad here, right? So my willingness to show up in my discomfort and in my vulnerability and in my incompleteness invites people to show up with who all they are, because I'm still growing and learning, and I want to invite them to do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
When you think you've met somebody that's got all their stuff together. Nope.
Yep.
No. No.
Oh yeah. When you and I were first dating, I had 6 kids.
Where's my mute button?
6 kids, single mom. And, I was like, I want this guy to like me. He's kind of cool. And I remember there were times you would come over to my house and I'm like, kids, put the dirty dishes in the oven. Pray that we wouldn't be making pizza that day. But it's so funny where, it was actually my goofiness and my weirdness and the absolute chaos of my family that made you want to stick around. Eventually, we just left the dirty dishes there.
We actually wash our dirty dishes.
We do. We
don't leave them.
I'm not a single mom with 6 kids anymore.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting to me when I switch back to business stuff, I think about, one of the things I believe a lot of entrepreneurs, and especially solopreneurs, do when they're starting business, they believe they have to have the absolute cheapest prices available. And that devalues what they do, but everybody's afraid, if I'm not the cheapest, why would anybody buy from me? And I think with the soul connections type of communicating, of creating a bond between those people, I know for me, there are places I've gone to and I know I was paying more because I believed in the business person more. It made more sense to me to, it was just worth it because I believed in who I was doing business with. And it didn't bother me that I was paying extra for it because I knew the person behind the business. I knew what their truths were. I knew what their ethics were. I knew what their goals were. And so it was easy for me to choose, I want this, I want to support this business and person because I believe in who they are. And I would guess that probably happens more than we think. The courses that I teach, the FemVincible courses, are not inexpensive courses. And if people look at the cost of my courses first, they probably don't want to talk to me. But once they talk to me and understand the passion and the point and the reason and the way that it's different and why I've made it different because of my story and the story of the people in our lives that we love and who have been hurt, then it makes complete sense. And all of a sudden, it's not some guy trying to sell the same thing everybody else is hawking about self-defense. It's like, oh, this is a whole different thing And now that I know Cranford, I'm okay, doing business with him.
I have a surprise question for you. So when we when we think about deep conversations, soul connections, soul conversations, when you think about that topic, how does that connect to what you do at FemVincible? Why is that important for women or people that are wanting to be safe?
In case y'all don't know, say I went into a weakness place. You hear my Southern kick in? In case y'all don't know, Penny also does some coaching. And she just pulled that out on me right in front of all of you.
If I just had a minute.
Luckily, since I began talking, I forgot the question. So I'm going to say it was about 13 is the answer I'm going to give. All right, make it short because I can't.
How do soul connections, soul conversations, that deep, authentic connection, how does that make people safe? How does it apply to FemVincible?
It's a good question. I would say the way that it makes people safer is, one of the things that we're afraid of is this new person I'm talking to a hustler? Is this new person tricking me? Are they faking me? Which is what a lot of abusers do. It's what traffickers do. It's what narcissistic abusers do. They put out the face that they know you want to see. And for all of us who have dealt with that in the past, we know the danger that can create. So to open up removes that barrier. It says, look, I'm not wearing a mask. This is really me. This is the real Cranford. I'm a goof. I'm a nerd. I put weird things like a little spaceship in my online courses because I like spaceships, and it has nothing to do with the course whatsoever. But it allows them to see me for who I am. And I remember there was a friend of a friend I had been introduced to, and she was a self-defense instructor. And we were having a Zoom, and it was so interesting. It was so interesting because, I could feel the tension between us. I could see the closed look. Not the closed look like she was asleep, but I could feel the closed off energy. And I learned this later from talking to her, but she's like, who is this guy? She's, she dealt with trauma in her life, as so many women have. And so many of those women experience it at the hands of men. So I get it. And I expect some of that defensiveness when I'm talking to somebody, but she had a lot of it up. And when I was explaining the story of why I do what I do, because she had asked me, why are you doing this? Well, if you ask me the question, I'll go ahead and give you the answer, which is not a fully comfortable answer to give because it's about bad things that have happened to both me and to people that I love. But when I mentioned that I was also a survivor of violence from childhood, it's like her entire wall and mask cracked and her shoulders dropped. And all of a sudden, she was there with me. She was then fully present. She saw me for who I am and why I was doing it. Not that I was some guy on a Zoom trying to sell her something. It hit her. She's like, oh, you understand. You really are trying to stop the violence and the hurt. And so it was deep conversation. I need a Benadryl. I think my allergies are kicking in. But so, just like what you're asking, that's it right there. The scary, uncomfortable, imperfect, broken parts of me, when I shared them, because they're the reason I do what I do, allowed her to put the key in the lock and open the doors for us to really connect and see who each other are. So that's how it's worked for me. And in teaching, I would say one of the challenges, this isn't supposed to be about me and FemVincible. This is about you.
But curious minds want to know.
Okay. All right, curious minds. Here's just a a short thing that I'll explain how these soul conversations work within FemVincible. And we didn't plan this, really. Surprise. One of the ways that I like to teach, well, let me put it this way. Everything that I teach in FemVincible is about things that a woman or a girl already has within her and has the capability to use. But 99 times out of 100, she either doesn't know it or knows it and doesn't believe it. So, and being open about me allows those students that I teach, my clients, to listen more openly and at a deeper level, so that when I start explaining to them and teaching them about the power and capability they have, they can actually take it in. Because, it doesn't matter how much you think you know about yourself. If your internal voice says you can't do it, you're not worth it, you're not strong enough, you're not smart enough, then those things you can't do. And so my soul connection goal is to have those clients, those students, those families, those women that I teach, to be able to open up safely enough with me to hear the truth of the power that they have. And when they finally hear it, and when they finally receive it, it's like they get a little bit taller in their chairs and their look changes, because now they're going, oh, wait, that's me. I can stand up in front of people and not be afraid.
Well, and I think that, when I think about the FemVincible model and how you teach that, that connection to our inner self, to our power, is like such a huge piece of being safe. And so when I think about soul conversations, if you're not somebody that typically goes very deep or just touches the water to see, is this, and talks about the weather only kind of thing, that's really in essence like keeping that wall up. And which, when I think as a woman to walk out in the world and there's all the bad guys that may be around, I look at this place of, I need to keep my walls up to keep people out. Where if it's actually this place of, I'm actually going to go within and center myself in the power of who I am, then now I'm beaming power and confidence and, ability. And all of a
you're
sudden,
not putting on a mask anymore.
No. So it's no
They're
longer
seeing the true strength.
It's no longer this wall that happens. It's now I'm fully seen and present. And all of a sudden now I'm not a target, because they don't want to play with that.
Right.
And
right.
So if you're not somebody who can be vulnerable and authentic and all of those things, because of these walls we put up from the hurts that we have, it could be putting you in danger when you think what you're doing is the right thing and pulling this wall out. And I'm not saying to be boundaryless, because that's not it either.
Right.
But it's really, so soul conversations for me is a place for us to come in and practice authenticity and vulnerability so that we can be successful in multiple places in our life.
Yeah. But I want to jump back to something you just said, which is really funny. That we worry about, or women worry about, their vulnerabilities because they make them vulnerable, right? Mm-hmm. But what we're talking about now, and our stuff has kind of merged here, when we talk about the vulnerability you get through what I teach and can practice, even if you've never done a LabCAF course or a FemVincible program, learning to be open in your strength, because it takes strength to be open and vulnerable. That's one of the things that shows up when you are being vulnerable. And again, like Penny said, we're not talking about having zero boundaries. We're not talking about putting yourself in bad situations. We're talking about the vulnerability of opening up so that people can see the real you. And guess what? The real you is incredibly powerful and strong. So it's funny to say that the more vulnerable you are with your openness, the more likely it is that that personal power comes through the mask, the walls, the gates, whatever it is that you use to try to keep yourself safe from people knowing you. But one of the things they get to know about you is that you're incredibly capable, you're worthy, you're powerful, you're deserving. And if you want, ladies, you can be downright scary because there's so much power in you. So it's interesting, to say that if you're willing to be vulnerable and open, you can be safer, because it is that vulnerability of you saying, I am powerful, I am capable. And although that might scare some people away, like haters, like predators, your fake friends, there are other people that it will draw closer to you. And those are the people that you want in your life, because if they see your strength and your twistiness and your nerdness and your capability, and they're drawn to it, they're seeing you for what they love about you, for what they want to love about themselves. So yeah, it's incredibly powerful that it builds you up, while at the same time kind of weeding out the things in your life that are not helpful. So it's really incredible. I'm super proud of you for putting that together. It's such a good program. And like we mentioned before, it's free. She's just doing it because it's one of her ways of making the world better beyond our house. Okay, anything else you want to toss out there as the last thing?
You're letting me just take the reins now.
I'm ready to snatch him right back if you get a little too wonky, dude. But
the only thing that I was thinking, as we were talking about this, is that the more we practice our authenticity, the more we have our discerning, the better we are able to discern. So in the safety world, the more I practice authenticity, the more I'm going to be able to understand whether somebody's being authentic with me. I'll be able to kind of get that vibe off of them a little bit clearer, because the more I'm standing in my authenticity, the clearer those signals come through to me. So that was the last thing I was
That's
thinking.
good. And that's not just some wonky do woo-woo stuff. I mean, now we're starting to talk about mirror neurons and stuff, which I won't get into, but the things that you know about yourself, you can see in others easier.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful to be able to go deeply into yourself, to know who you truly are, so that you can see those things in others, which will keep you safer. It'll help you find better friends. Not that your current friends are bad, but sometimes you have friends in your life that don't know how to help you move into the life that you could have. Sometimes you have friends in your life who, although they love you, every time they see you trying to live bigger and grow, they're afraid of you going away and they try to pull you back. And yeah, it's tough, because you can love those friends very much and still have to go, I have to let you go, friend. And when you're ready to grow, come back into my life again. So Penny, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. And everybody, thanks for being here. I so appreciate you, as always, that you show up, you watch the videos, you show up live. Sometimes I want you to show up live more, because, oh my gosh, I did not put the live link. Sorry. That's why nobody showed up live today to talk to us. I didn't put the link out there. See, not perfect, but still, thanks for being here, and check out Penny's link.
Cool.
Go test it in a safe place, what it's like to be open and safe. It feels pretty good.
It's not too bad.
Yeah. I won't say it feels pretty good. It feels incredible, when you can actually do it. So check it out. Thanks for being here, Penny. Leave a comment in here. I'd like to hear, the time that you decided to be open with somebody and it turned into something incredible. I'd like to hear about that, because that's what we're shooting for. The time that you were open and it didn't turn out so good, that's our trauma stuff, isn't it? I still deal with that. So I understand that a lot of you do too. And it's me also wanting to keep myself safe and being scared to be open and have a soul level conversation with people sometimes. So don't think if you're afraid to do it that you're too messed up or you're broken. We all still do it. We always will. It's just a matter of doing it less and less so that we can grow more and more. Hey, thanks for being here. I so appreciate you. And I will see you
next Saturday.
Next Saturday. There's no way I actually forgot that. I just probably wandered off in my head somewhere for a minute. So thanks for being there. You should be my co-host.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. This has been a production of LabCalf LLC and FemVincible.com.